Man, if Pete is anything like my dad, trying to explain a white elephant to my father, I mean, you would have thought I was explaining chemistry. I'm like, Dad. He's like, where are these gifts coming from? Who bought these? I said, I bought all the gifts for everybody. You know, he's like, what number am I? Can I trade? I'm like, oh, this is the worst.
What is going on at your house?
Welcome to Scoop City. I'm the athletic senior NFL insider, Diana Rossini.
And I'm Chase Daniel, played 14 years in the NFL.
Thanks for being with us on this holiday week. Shout out to all the moms and dads breaking down all the cardboard. You're the real heroes of the week.
Especially all the moms. The dads just put stuff together. Moms do it all.
I don't know. My husband was breaking down those cardboard boxes. I mean, there's got to be about 40 of those things.
Yeah, but breaking down boxes is different than putting it all together for the moms. The moms are the stars of Christmas.
Oh, you're so nice. Are you including me in that?
You're a mom.
There you go. I spent most of my day looking for AA batteries. So if anyone has some extra ones, send them this way. It's all I do. Pick up wrapping paper, tape, and search for batteries around my house. I'm taking batteries out of objects in my house that have them to just put them in my children's toys at this point for them to just work. So fortunately for us, our remote control had their batteries in as we checked out all the action on Netflix on Christmas Day. Tons of football while we're all scattered running around. It's such a strange dichotomy, right? Because it's like family time and you're enjoying yourselves and you're eating, you're cooking, you're celebrating. Yet I just want to sit in silence and watch football.
My wife said those games better not be on all day. I'm like, oh, they were on all day.
Oh, they are. I know. They truly were the screensaver of our room at one point, where they were just on, and I would just swoop in real quick and try to watch as much as I possibly could. So either way, we had some good action, and I think we learned a lot too in terms of what these teams are. We've been saying this entire time. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Chase has been saying this entire season, we should have no worries and no concerns and no sweating it out about the Kansas City Chiefs and specifically Travis Kelce. And voila, here we are. So we're going to get into that a little bit, where the Chiefs are at. We're going to talk a little bit about the Ravens, why I think that they're going to pose the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs going for this three-peat. Some coaching cycle conversation. Pete Carroll's name is buzzing around this week. Is that real? What are we hearing around the league there? And then finally, we'll wrap this up. I've been dying to hear what you thought of Beyonce. Not really. But obviously, that was a darn good halftime show for a Christmas Day. I mean, that was unbelievable. But I definitely want to talk a little bit about that and the games that we will be watching this weekend. But let's get right to it. Here's what I'm hearing around the league. All right, so we saw the Chiefs on Christmas Day, basically just being the Chiefs this year. They beat a really good Steelers team, 29-10 in the first game of the day, clinching the top seed in the AFC. And we spent a lot of time this season trying to figure out who the Kansas City Chiefs are on offense, who they are on defense. And now I feel like we have that answer finally. And that answer is what?
Unstoppable. The unstoppable force. I mean, truly, like, it's like one of those things. And not even talking offense and defense, like just their team. Like, I remember being a part of that locker room when we weren't winning. In 2013, the first year that Andy Reid got there. And he just slowly built the culture up. 2015, we made the playoffs. We beat a really good Houston team down there in Houston. 16, they draft Mahomes. 17, and then 18, they're one win away from their 7th straight AFC Championship game. But specifically that locker room and how they are after games. Like, did you see Andy Reid dressed up as Santa?
Yeah,
like,
what's that about?
It's one of the coolest.
I mean, I know
he
it's
just
about.
is like, he's having the most fun of his career. We call the equipment guy who was dressed as an elf Schropp. Literally called, his last name's like Chris Shropshire. We call him Schropp. He's been around there forever, and he's the one who's dressed as an elf and handing Andy Reid the game ball for most franchise wins in a season. Like, they just won 15 games in a season. They're having a ton of fun. Andy Reid is a man. I don't know why he isn't the coach of the year, man. It's been amazing to watch.
Yeah, I know. We never recognize him. Again, another example where we're just used to it. We just assume that's what it's going to be. That's the expectation. But let's not take away from the fact that he's done a really good coaching job when at times we had a lot of questions about what this team was going to be. But now it seems offensively, they're playing really well. Patrick Mahomes is taking care of the football really well. They're utilizing their skill players. They have held up on the left side of the ball where we had those worries. They somehow have had this carousel of protectors, and it's working. It's working because you also have 15 under center, but they've solved that problem. And defensively, they're staying healthy. I still think this is a team where you have to just watch to see if they can hold up on the perimeter. But outside of that,
They're getting takeaways,
correct,
which is huge.
What about the Travis Kelce part to this? Like, this isn't the most superior Travis Kelce, but this is just playing into what we knew the whole time, which was, all right, it's going to be a little choppy headed into the postseason. But once we start getting closer to what the prime time is for them, this is when it starts getting cleaned up and he starts becoming the go-to guy who's always open.
Yeah, I call him their secret weapon. I'm like, how is he a secret weapon? Well, he just hasn't been playing really well as of late.
Funny.
I mean, he had 11 targets this past game. So he's starting to heat up. He's going to have 24 days before they host a divisional round game, either January 18th or January 19th. He's going to get healthy. But this was just a good reminder, man, that Travis Kelce can still do it all. He's catching these shallow crosses. He's doing stuff on his touchdown that he shouldn't be doing. He's just finding open zones. More importantly, I saw him block better on Christmas Day than I've seen him block any other game. Like he's sealing edges as a safety blitz. He's pulling around on a goal line package. Like you just don't expect the old, Taylor Swift's boyfriend, who's a celebrity in his own right, to be like getting dirty and dirty work, and he's doing it. And then all the way, like having Hollywood Brown back, Xavier Worthy take the tops off outside, having DeAndre Hopkins win these one-on-one balls, someone go to work in the middle. He's getting way less like defenses around him, and he's actually playing a lot better. This is really good news for Chiefs fans. Everyone remembers that sort of run that the Chiefs went on with him in the playoffs. 32 catches, 3 receiving touchdowns, and like 355 yards receiving in 4 games. This is what they're going to need to win playoff games. He sure looks like he's back to his old self.
I love how people are asking questions lately. Is Andy Reid going to retire? No! Why would he retire? Look at these guys. You have them moving and shaking, and perhaps...
I mean, they're having so much fun.
They are. I always wonder if Taylor Swift watches all this and she thinks that this is just normal. Like, this isn't normal. If I want her and Travis to work out. I think we all do. We're all rooting for it. But if they don't, I really want her next boyfriend to be, like, on the Jags or the Titans. Right? And just be like, this is actually the way most fans
so
feel.
Mean to say that.
You know what I
This
mean,
is how
though?
normal people feel.
Like this isn't normal, Taylor. Like,
the script writers played it so well.
and I'm
let's be
sure
real.
she is such a self-reflective person, and I'm sure she can appreciate it, but I don't think she truly knows because she's never really eaten it in terms of like
this
the
is
bad
normal.
teams. But just the fashion that they're winning in, and to be a team that all season long it felt like practice, and now the real time has begun, and now we're going to see the best version of the Kansas City Chiefs begin. Why? Because we see it every year. This is when the best version of the Kansas City Chiefs starts. So then you have the Steelers. Okay, so what's going on with them after dropping their last 3 games? Defense is a problem. Why is the defense a problem when this is usually their strength? And really, one of the reasons why they've been so good this year.
I mean, it is one of the main reasons why they've been so good this year, specifically when they were switching from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson. Look, they've lost their last 3. They're 2-4 in their last 6 games. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, why? Like, I went back, watched some film. Look, Russell Wilson's turned the ball over 3 times in the last 2 games. Not great. 2 of those have been in the red zone, which is a big no-no for the quarterback. Protect the football, a fumble, and an interception. That is not what you want to happen. But then I watched the rest. I'm like, okay, they haven't had George Pickens in 3 games. He came back this past game, wasn't fully healthy. I get that. And then I just started going back and was doing some research. I'm like, well, man, their defense is struggling. Since week 12, the Steelers have allowed 27.7 points per game. Almost 4 touchdowns a game. That is not the Pittsburgh Steelers that we are used to. That is not what Mike Tomlin wants. And it's just because other than TJ Watt, they're not generating pressures. They're not getting turnovers. They're getting the ball run down their throats. And something has to give. And the Chiefs didn't even try to run the ball. They just threw it all over them.
Yep. And that those explosive plays that we normally see on both sides of the ball, from Pickens, from Watt, they just haven't been there consistently. And obviously because Pickens hasn't been out there. So Do you think that the Steelers should just continue on this path with Russell Wilson and trusting him? Because, look, you mentioned the red zone issues. That, to me, if they can figure that out and clean it up, they're back in this being a really good team. That's been their problem. That would be my little present I could wrap if I could right now, if I had any wrapping paper left, in order for them to have some success here.
If you had any wrapping paper left, that's
Right
so
out of
true.
that.
I used all mine.
I used tinfoil.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, we did a white elephant. There was a couple gifts left. I was like, oh, shoot. Couldn't find any wrapping paper. I had birthday paper, and I was like, I'm not going to do that. That's weird. Although we could have celebrated Jesus' birthday, but that would have been weird, too. So I just used tinfoil.
So funny.
Nobody cares.
I love the
The
show
best gifts
because,
were the tinfoil.
Yeah, that's so true. I love the show because we can go about talking very seriously about Lamar, like Steelers and Patrick Mahomes, and then you wrap in tinfoil. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, look, the Steelers, they don't have any issue in my mind going forward with Russell Wilson. I don't think you're going to get like a backup quarterback prop up from Justin Fields. Like, Russ is the guy. I think Russ has shown actually me this year that Russ can be the guy for a few more years. However, this is the biggest issue when you have Russell Wilson as your quarterback, and this is how he has always played football throughout his entire career, even going back to his Seattle days. Russell Wilson locks onto reads. It's you read the first read, you go to your second read, and then you run. And he's been so good and so athletic through his entire career, especially early on in Seattle, is like, hey, if one's not open, let's go run. If 1 and 2 aren't open, let's go make plays with our feet, extend plays, make these throws down the field. This Steelers offensive line, and we've talked about it before, Diana, that's why I liked playing Justin Fields. Justin Fields can get out of these sacks. The Chiefs had 5 sacks against the Steelers, okay? He took some bad ones. He had a sack fumble as well. He's not the same Russell that's going to be running around in the pocket and being able to escape because he is 36 years old, and Father Time catches up with everyone. Now, he did win a lot of games as a starter when they first started. They've lost 3 games in a row by double digits. However, those 3 games are all against what we would call Super Bowl contenders. We knew this stretch of the year was coming. Eagles, Ravens, Chiefs. It is a rough stretch. I just don't know if we thought the Steelers are who we thought they were when they started 8-2.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the next team we're going to talk about that we saw play on Christmas Day, the Baltimore Ravens playing against the Houston Texans. And the Texans are really the comp to the Steelers in my mind. And I could see those two teams playing against each other in the playoffs, the way it could pan out. Now, for Houston, right, C.J. Stroud, he's obviously not playing at the level we've seen him play. He's not having the same kind of year he had last year. But this team has shown that they can beat the okay teams and the bad teams, but they haven't been able to beat the great ones. And this was such a big game. And we talked about this last show. For me, I wanted this to be the moment the Texans were like, okay, we sorted it out. We figured out. We know what we are. It's not perfect, but we can find ways to win. And we got the opposite. We got a team that just got absolutely bulldozed by Lamar Jackson, by Derrick Henry. Lamar, again, putting up an MVP caliber performance against this team. So the Ravens are now in first place by themselves in the AFC North. Before we hop into Baltimore, do you have a thought on the Texans? What's bothering you about them?
Yeah, look, I mean, everyone's going to point at C.J. Stroud, and rightfully so. He even said after the game it was the worst game of his career. I would push back on that. I don't think that's the case. I don't think that he has looked like he's confidently throwing the football, specifically the last 3 or 4 games. Now, it hurts when you don't have the receiver you traded for in Stephon Diggs. It hurts that Tank Dell is out for the season. It hurts that Nico Collins early in the year was missing time. So those 3 guys, when you come out of the offseason saying these are our top 3 guys, you feel really good. I'd say it's like a top 6 or 7 receiving core. And then they all are injured. And then the biggest thing, and what I want to hit on, what I'm seeing from C.J. Stroud, is that offensive line play. It has not been good at all. They are like top 5 worst offensive line, and these are just not my opinion, in almost every single metric. You look at sacks, you look at total pressures, and as a quarterback, when you start feeling these hits and you start feeling these pressures, sometimes in the pocket you can get happy feet. Well, Chase, what's happy feet? It looks literally like you're dancing in the pocket. You're not set. I saw that from C.J. Stroud against the Baltimore Ravens, which they have not been a great defense this year. And there's a couple times where he's doing this happy feet dance Nothing's around him. So it's hard once you get hit so many times to get away from that. The crazy thing is they're going to be hosting a playoff game, which is nuts because they're going to win that division. And then, Steelers right now are going in to Houston. So we'll see how that looks. I just don't know if they can beat anyone with CJ playing like this.
Yeah, and you can't really do anything at this point. You are what you are. Your players are your players. You just have to kind of make the best of the situation. Something I always wondered about, because usually we get to this point of the season, and I was actually taking a look at going back to week 7, and from week 7 now, who had the best records, and it's funny. The best teams that we're seeing right now had the best records because we always said that that's usually when you figure out what you are. And we knew that the Texans, we kind of knew what they were, especially right before the trade deadline. So I'm curious what they're going to do this offseason, knowing that they know the problems there, right? There's no question that they're seeing what we're seeing. But I'm interested to see the growth of CJ Stroud too after this year. And I'm not writing them off because they could make a run still, but I think this is all part of the development at the quarterback spot. We saw Lamar Jackson go through it, where you have some success, and then what happens after that?
Weren't the Texans your Super Bowl team?
Oh, enough. We're not doing this every show.
I forgot.
We're not doing this every show.
Oh, they were. Okay. Yeah.
Can I change my pick?
No.
So I bring up Lamar Jackson because right now Bills quarterback Josh Allen is the favorite to win after the Ravens' victory against the Texans. But do you think after what we saw Lamar do, this shifted the conversation? Because last show, if you recall, Lamar Jackson was my pick. Yours was Josh Allen. We have not seen Josh Allen play this weekend yet, so we will see. We will revisit this. But is that wild to think he has to play some MVP caliber game in week 17?
I know.
Like they're both so good right now. And by the way, we haven't even really considered Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, because you could make an argument for them as well, especially with the Ravens.
I think that these two guys, Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, it's a fascinating conversation. And I said on my Fox show that I'm on, I think on Monday, I said, punt the key, give it to Josh Allen. It's not even close. I don't care what Lamar Jackson does. And then he goes in front of a global Netflix audience and puts on a show. He only threw it 15 times. And he puts on 3 total touchdowns, right? He's running the ball so effortlessly in a huge win versus a playoff caliber team in the Houston Texans. So what Lamar's doing is absolutely getting his way back into the conversation. Right now, it's a 2-horse race. Let's be honest with you. It's a quarterback award. I love what Saquon's doing. Give him Offensive Player of the Year. Yeah. The MVP, most valuable player. The way I'm leaning is I lean toward Josh Allen for a few different reasons. One, the expectations for Josh Allen coming in this year were really low. We talked about this possibly being the worst team that he's played on. He's doing what he's doing with Khalil Shakir. No bad blood to him. He was on our show. Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper, Dalton Kincaid, James. I mean, these are guys that are like unknowns in the NFL, outside of the NFL circles, right? Like. But what Lamar's doing, he's doing it with a bunch of first-round receivers and Mark Andrews and Derrick Henry, right? So I think that plays into it as well. I also think voter fatigue is in Josh's favor. What is that, Chase? Think about Lamar Jackson. He's going for his third MVP.
What it is. I said that. It's exhaustion.
Oh, you did? Oh, I didn't even say it. It is exhaustion. So there you go.
When you take my lessons and you apply that, you ask me
I was just telling our listeners. I didn't.
First of all,
I agree with you on that.
Are listening closely, and they heard me last show.
They better
right in the
listen
comment
closely.
section. If you heard me make that point last show, right in the comment section, Chase, I heard her say that.
I did. I don't listen a lot.
No, the thing is, it's true. Yes, you're a great listener. Actually, it's my favorite thing about you. Look, both are MVP caliber quarterbacks. I really think this comes down to personal preference of what you want in your quarterback, right? It's like Allen's cannon arm, his clutch plays, his body size, how he can carry the team on his shoulders. But Lamar Jackson can do the same thing. He's got that game-breaking versatility. But either way, I don't think you're ever going to be wrong. I have a vote in this thing, and I have to go day by day. But for right now, I'm giving it to Lamar Jackson.
Before we move on, you know what's crazy is that like Lamar Jackson, as we sit here at this recording today, he has 43 total touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. There's a world where if he goes for 4 or 5 touchdowns that we're sitting here, Lamar Jackson finishes the season with 47 or 48 total touchdowns, only 4 interceptions, and he will not win the MVP. That is wildly mind-blowing to me.
I saw someone tweet, why don't we just see which quarterback can dethrone the Chiefs, and then that quarterback gets the MVP?
Guess who did it? Guess who did it? The Bills already. The Josh Allen beat, I know what you're saying in the playoffs, but that's another thing. Josh Allen beat the best team in the NFC, and he beat the best team in the AFC.
My problem is, can they do it on the road? I have more confidence that the Ravens can beat the Chiefs on the road than the Buffalo Bills could beat the Chiefs on the road. So to come on the show, we're going to get into the coaching candidate conversation. Pete Carroll's name back in the news cycle. We'll discuss that and his interest in the Chicago Bears. We'll be right back. All right, back here on Scoop City, obviously we just spent a lot of time talking about the superior teams that we're going to be seeing dancing in the playoffs, but you've got teams with lots of questions at the coaching position, at the quarterback position, and then really the future of what these franchises are going to do, like the Las Vegas Raiders. So we're growing to learn a lot more about what owner Mark Davis is doing with the Raiders in terms of how they're going to make a lot of these decisions. And as we've discussed on the show, and as many people know, Tom Brady is a minority owner, and he's going to be part of this. You know, Mark Davis was very passionate about leaning on Tom Brady for thoughts, especially when they want to go pick a quarterback at some point here, whether that means in the draft or if that means in free agency, if it means the quarterbacks that are on their roster right now. But what I've learned recently is it's not just going to be Tom Brady's thoughts on the quarterback position, which would make sense, right? Let's ask the greatest quarterback of all time his thoughts on that position. Give me all your answers, please. But really, how involved Tom Brady is going to be in all regards, in everything that has to do with the Las Vegas Raiders, which, look, you're Mark Davis. You're frustrated. You haven't been able to get this thing right in a long time. Yet, actually. Right? So they're going to have to make a decision about their head coach with Antonio Pierce. I've talked to people around the league who believe that this is going to probably be it for AP, despite the fact that the players, the locker room last year really wanted to make this work, and he does have a lot of support there. But I think Tom Brady's going to have a big hand in helping Mark Davis navigate the next steps here. Tom Telesco, who is very liked by Mark Davis, very liked by Tom Brady, I could see them as a trio discussing the next chapters of the Raiders together, a collaborative effort to figure out, all right, what are we going to do if they decide to move on from AP officially, and what we're going to do at quarterback, and everything else that comes with revamping, reshaping, and maybe even potentially energizing an organization that could use a little bit of Tom Brady winningness.
That's fascinating to me. Look, I figured he'd have a say in the quarterback, but to see the head coach too. So does that mean they're going to skew toward a guy like Vrabel or a guy that has played with or that Brady knows more often? I mean, that's usually how these things go, right? Yeah,
you have to figure that why would he not call his former teammate, who he's really good friends with, that he won 3 Super Bowls with. I think they won together when they played on the team at the same time. So yeah, that would make sense, but I don't necessarily think that that's the only coach that they would be talking to, obviously, because I think the problem that I'm seeing a lot of teams are having is they all are on the Vrabel train. So it's who's going to get to him first, who's going to sell themselves the most, and then you take a look at the organization as a whole and put yourself in Mike Vrabel's shoes, right? You want to go where? You want to go to a place that has a quarterback. You do not want to. He's already dealt with that. He doesn't want to go through that again. Of who's going to be my guy.
No, hearing that Brady is going to be so involved, how does that play in with his broadcasting deal with Fox? Because it's like, well, I get that he's a minority owner, he got that, but now he's going to be doing like day-to-day operations. Can't you see that as like a little bit of
like conflict? It just sounds like a lot of work. Sounds like a lot of work. Yeah. But look, it's kind of the way I felt when Aaron Rodgers. Actually, that's such a bad example. Sorry about that, Raiders fans. I was going to say, I remember sitting on the set on Get Up, sitting next to Mike Greenberg, and, you know, we broke the story that the trade was done, and Aaron Rodgers was going to New York, and, you know, there were some analysts that felt so weird about it, and I was like, what are you talking about? This is the best thing they could have done. They're going to bring in a winner, and he's going to show everyone how to win and change the culture, and I was going to use that comp to what I'm talking about with Tom Brady here, because he's going to instill the Patriot way of winning, the Tom Brady way of winning. which I think on paper always sounds good, but I think it may be different when you're not the player anymore, you know? But I wonder if he's going to bring a lot of the same programs he used in New England and the way that, because here's the thing, and Chase, you know this better than anyone. New England people like to do things New England way. So,
no kidding.
You know, and they don't really veer off of that way of doing it, which I get it because it works.
Don't you think it soured on Brady the end of his career with like the Patriot way? Don't you think it's the Tom Brady way and everything that he was doing?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's both. I hate that fight of is it Bill, is it Tom? They were magical together, right? And the way they are both so disciplined. We talked about this 2 shows ago of just if you come out of New England, you have a discipline to you and an identity that is very clear and I think at times very inspiring actually, but it doesn't always work everywhere. That's what I've also learned over the years, right? As we've seen. So I'm interested to see. I know. I want to see what he does, how he handles all this, because ownership it's different than being the quarterback. It's very different.
Yeah.
Although we have seen some quarterbacks act like the owner.
That's very true.
All right, moving on.
Names here.
Okay, so we've talked about this on the show that Pete Carroll wants to get back in, right? We know he wants to be a head coach. The question is going to be, are there going to be teams that are interested in Pete Carroll? He's in his 70s. I don't have to sell him to you.
73.
He's full of energy.
But
I don't want to hold.
73.
We've talked about 70-year-olds a lot on the show because we had the Belichick situation. But man, if Pete is anything like my dad, trying to explain a white elephant to my father, I mean, you would have thought I was explaining chemistry. I'm like, Dad. He's like, where are these gifts coming from? Who bought these? I said, I bought all the gifts for everybody. You know, he's like, what number am I? Can I trade? I'm like, oh, this is the worst game.
Can I trade?
I did secretly put in $100 bill in one of the white elephant gifts. That was wrapped in tinfoil.
Oh my God. So a $100 bill wrapped in tinfoil.
Well, I put it in a baby pouch, like a pouch. Like, you know, the kids eat those little yogurt things. So someone was like,
"What's going on at your house?"
Oh, we needed to change it up around here because our Christmases have been pretty dull. And I said to Kevin, I'm like, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna play games. And everyone bought in. We had so much
wine
fun.
Did you have?
You know what? I didn't really drink yesterday. I had tons of antipasto, which I am swollen today. For those watching on video, I apologize that I look like I've gained 25 pounds in a day. I will lose that. I will get back to Orange Theory. I have not been there in a week. But back to Pete Carroll's age and getting back into the coaching world. Look, Bill Belichick had a hard time getting teams interested in him. And he's the greatest coach of all time. Pete Carroll has won a Super Bowl. He's proven that he can connect with players. He's proven that he can be incredible at calling defenses. But is he the right one for these openings, right? We got the Saints open, we got the Jets, we got the Bears.
Most of them are rebuilds and a 73-year-old rebuilding. Now the Bears are an interesting one to me. I saw Shefty tweet that out, and I'm like, first thing I thought was like, oh, it's just an agent trying to pimp out his head coach, right? And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, I mean, look, he would do well there, but then I'm like, who's he going to bring an OC? And do the Bears really want that? Like, they should be all in on Ben Johnson or Vrabel. And it's just like, I like from a leadership perspective. And I've talked to Mark Sanchez in depth about this, who used to play for Pete Carroll at USC. He's very, very close still. And it's just like, he just brings this natural way of enthusiasm that just breathes life into an organization. I said, man, that's so true. It's not like an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, because that's Harbaugh. But it's just like a happy enthusiasm, competitive nature spirit.
It's positive. It's optimistic. Yeah. It's real.
I go back to the age. I'm just like, man, do they want to pair Caleb Williams with Pete Carroll?
No. I'm not one way or the other on this, but I was thinking about this earlier today. All right, let's just say you're the New York Jets. You don't want a first-year head coach because they've got to navigate a lot of the difficult trails and the stuff that comes with it. You want a coach with experience, and the coaches that have experience, you may not be able to land. So how can we get the closest to what we want? is it maybe tapping into an older coach?
Is he gonna?
That could use some positivity.
Is he gonna get a job? Do you think this is real? Like that's what I want to. That's what I assume
can tell
people
you
want to know.
he wants to coach. I can't tell you if I know of any teams at this point right now that are having serious conversations about bringing him in. So much is going to change though over the next few weeks. But remember, Pete is technically a consultant for the Seahawks.
What about Jacksonville? Like that's an interesting one because it's a blank check with an owner. Is Doug Peterson? What do you like? Is he going to be back? I haven't heard anything after all that stuff.
Was that wild? It was like
we
were waiting
you're gonna get
every
fired
day.
right away, and now he's like
talking about 2026. He's like, well, no, I think the sense around the league is that Doug will probably lose his job at the end of the season, but things could change, right? Maybe something happened behind the scenes.
I'm just trying to think of teams like that would fit Pete. And
a team that could use a revamp, a team that could use a shot in the arm.
Yeah.
Who needs it?
I mean, every team that has a new head coach.
It's such a good point. I had this conversation with somebody recently, and he made such a good point because I was like, man, some of these teams stink. Just going through the roster with him, and we're going through the salary cap situation, and he's like, they all stink. That's why the jobs are open. I'm like,
literally, they all stink.
Oh, you're right. You're so right. But you forget it because you think, look, it's one of 32, right? There's only a few that get these gigs. All right, before we get into what we're going to be watching this weekend in terms of the games, let's quickly brush through some of that Beyonce action on Netflix.
Let's hit on the Beyonce
There you
action.
go. Hit on. I like hit on. I don't know why I'm saying brushing.
Oh, my God.
Man, that was really good. What'd you think?
I mean, look, it was, you thought, yeah. Well, let me just start with you. Like, what did you think? What did you think about it? I mean, look, it was, there was a denim truck. There was Post Malone, which I liked. Cal McNair in a convertible with his wife. That was not on my bingo card. And they made it look like the Super Bowl, which I appreciated.
That's what I love too.
And then they brought out Blue Ivy. It was just like so many small, subtle things. I mean, look, it was fine.
It was better than fine. I've seen many
I
Super
liked
Bowl
how
halftime
big
shows.
the performance was.
Correct. It felt big. It looked big. It felt important. I was like, wait, this is just a Christmas Day game. Why? What is all this excitement? And this game kind of stinks. But look, Beyonce, she's from Houston. It kind of made sense. I'm sure the paycheck was fantastic.
Did you see how much they paid her?
Something around the same salary you have for doing this show. So it wasn't too wild. Around 20 mil?
$20 million. No wonder she was crushing it. And she was lip syncing.
I don't know. Was she?
I can't say that.
I don't think she was.
Are you kidding me? She was off half
that.
a beat the entire way. Yeah, check Twitter. It's on Twitter. She was definitely lip syncing.
Okay,
for
that's
sure.
the difference between you and I. You go to Twitter for your info. I do not. I
The
don't trust
Beehive. I
Twitter.
wanted to check it out. She was definitely lip syncing. Let's be
First
real
of all,
about that.
the Beehive's about to come sting your ass right now because
I love Beyonce. She's great.
I saw Rihanna.
I don't get why people hate her so much.
Who hates her?
Diana.
Who hates Beyonce?
There's people that don't like her.
Those are no friends of mine.
Right?
Speaking of, there's not a lot of people that we know in our circle that hate the Denver Broncos because we've been on the Denver Bronco train for a while.
That's right.
Big game, though, for them and the Bengals. The Bengals trying to stay alive in this thing, trying to do anything. And some people have some strong opinions. I saw Jeff Saturday yelling about nobody wants to see Bo Nix in the playoffs.
Oh, my God.
We want to see Joe Burrow.
Come on, Jeff Saturday. I disagree with you.
I mean, I saw his point. I know what he's saying.
I did not see his point.
It's Joe
I
Burrow.
want to see Bo Nix.
It's Joe Burrow. But yeah,
You know what's crazy about the Bengals though? Because just quickly, they're gonna get, if they beat the Broncos, right? They're gonna get screwed by the Chiefs resting their starters against the Broncos in Week 18.
Yes,
and
exactly.
that is what you're looking at. You're a Bengals fan. You're like, no.
Meanwhile,
But
Sean Payton sitting there like, come on, Chiefs, play all your starters. I want
100%.
all the stars out there because they
doubt.
almost beat them last time.
I know.
I
agree. Yeah.
that's the crazy part. If not for that blocked field goal, they could have, man, how different of a direction that team would have been in, both teams, if that turned out
Not
to
the
be.
Chiefs. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. They
Yeah,
find a way.
the Chiefs.
Come on.
All right, so Commanders and Falcons. Okay, you might go, what? Who cares?
No, I love this.
Okay, good. Why?
Well, I mean, first of all, Falcons
So do I.
control their own destiny. Michael Penix Jr. played a flawless game, I thought, last week. Now we get to see him prime time against Jaden Daniels, who's honestly, even though I love Bo Nix, going to win the Rookie of the Year. They're playing for playoff seeding and a playoff spot as well. So this is sort of what the odds makers and the schedule makers sort of wanted when they put this game into prime time. So I absolutely love it. I'm excited because it's crazy. We did all this stuff about Kirk Cousins, right? Should he be like, look, they didn't win because of Michael Penix, but they didn't lose because of him, and he didn't turn the football over. Like the interception was not his fault.
Yeah, but one
No,
time. Yeah,
did you,
but
no,
technically.
no. The interception, no, that should just go down as an asterisk. That was complete BS from Kyle Pitts. He volleyed the ball to a defender. He did not put the ball in harm's way, which I think is the biggest thing.
Before we go, I just, I like to lean on you for some experiences with parenting stuff because I mess up so much.
Well, thank you.
Christmas
Don't
morning
mess up.
in your family,
Yeah.
the gift process. How does it go? Because
So that's a great question. Explain though more in what context do you want? Because there's a thousand different ways it could go.
You are right. So obviously 3 and 2 they're barely understanding it. So Kev put together this amazing train set, and we were so excited to give it to him. And Mikey just walked right by it, and he's like, "Where are the gifts?" I'm like, "Oh, like what?" Like I saw like all the life come out of Kev. Like, what? I stayed up to 2 a.m. building that thing for you, kid. But then once I comprehended it, then it was good. But they're still a little young to really get it. And our takeaway was, you're better off having 1 or 2, maybe 3 tops, really nice gifts, and then whatever. Like quality over the quantity.
Yeah. No, I agree. And we started doing that. Like we have a 7, 5, and I guess she's 3, a 3-year-old, where all 3 of them, like the 3-year-old doesn't really get it. I feel like 4 is the magic number, but the 7 and 5-year-old is really magical for them. They believe in the magic of Christmas. They do all this stuff. Santa brought them like a really nice, like wooden playhouse out in the back that's like 5 feet tall. Dad Santa did not put it together because it took a handyman 6 hours with power tools. It would have taken me 6 days. I feel bad about it, but I just could not have done that. Like it's just impossible. But we do like our Santa gifts in my wife's family. Stockings are like the bigger type gifts, which is cool. Like and then we'll go around open gifts from each other. But we've scaled way back because quite honestly, I don't want any extra crap around the house. And our kids know that it's not just about the gifts, it's about the birth of Jesus. And so at dinner, we usually do like a steak dinner and we sing happy birthday to Jesus. So they get the understanding of like, this is what it's about. It's not about the presents.
Yeah.
But it was a good process. Like it's just, we're in a fun stage right now. Like our 3-year-old walked past all our gifts and said, "Oh, I got a candy chocolate Santa. Yay." It's like, come on.
Like that's really what's exciting you. I know.
She's like, "I got candy."
I may send Joey to your house because all he does is sing happy birthday. So he would have loved to sing you happy birthday, Jesus. He's blown out every candle in my house because we have all the Christmas candles going. Just to his credit, he doesn't just blow them out. He sings the song first, then blows them out and makes all of his wishes. So we wish you all a happy holiday week. We hope you get some rest. I think a lot of people are just tired from it all. It all came quickly. And hopefully over the next few days, for those that have to work, more power to you. Hopefully your days are shortened and you get some rest this weekend because we got some good football action over the next few days. But that'll do it for us here on Scoop City. We will see you guys next week.
Bye guys. Tag me next time.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.